I took every document from a signing packet and I read every document and I read the origin of every document and I figured it all out. And by Monday, I was ready to go. And by Wednesday, I was making money.
Welcome to the Sidehustle Lounge. If you're looking for flexible ways to earn income, grow your mindset, and live the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, you are in the right place. So lower the lights, grab your favorite beverage, and join your host, founder of NotaryCoach.com and Amazon best-selling author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent, Bill Soroka.
Hello, everyone, and cheers to my guest today, Judi Lawrence of the Lawrence Institute for Notaries, as well as known as the Queen of the Apostilles and author of Make Your Business Our Business. It's a great handbook if you're just starting out as a notary public. Judi, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks, Bill. It's my pleasure to be with you.
I love that you've agreed to be here and talk about the unrestricted fees available with apostille work. I had to call it apostille, otherwise it doesn't rhyme with unrestricted fees. But I know you call it apostille, and we're going to dive into that and talk about what an apostille is, how you can build a business around it, all that good stuff. But first, I wonder if you would share with our audience why we should listen to you about apostille. Can you start with how you got into your business, or what's your origin story here?
My origin story is that for a number of years, I was a paralegal and a legal secretary. One fine, beautiful, sunny day, they came to 15 or 16 of us and said, we don't need you anymore. And I was a man without a plan, if you will. I never thought in a million years that I wouldn't have a job, and I never thought that I wouldn't have an income. So after about 6 months of grieving, I was selling a piece of property, and I called a notary to come and notarize some papers. I still remember her name, and it's 7.5 years ago. Her name was Vicky. And when Vicky walked out my door, a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, why did I just pay Vicky to be a notary for me? Why aren't people paying me to be a notary? And I walked in the other room, and I made a business card, and I had every intention of being the neighborhood notary. I thought I would go to, I'm in the city, and I thought I'd go to hospitals or hotels or apartment buildings and just give my card and say, if you need a notary. I went to a function a day or so later, and I met a woman who told me, and I told her my story, and she said, well, with your background, why don't you become a signing agent? And I said, what is a signing agent? And she told me, and she gave me 5 or 6 numbers to call. And she said, with your background, these papers it'll kind of be easy for you. So I came home, I did what she said. And then I told my friends and family that from Thursday to Monday, no one would hear from me because I took every document from a signing packet and I read every document and I read the origin of every document and I figured it all out. And by Monday, I was ready to go. And by Wednesday, I was making money. And that's a true story. I was 50 years old. I was applying for paralegal and secretary jobs. I think I shared this with you, Bill. Yeah. And people would say to me, oh, wow, you're wonderful. You know PowerPoint, you know Excel, you know Word. You'd be wonderful. You could help Tommy or Barbara. And then the next day I would get this nice letter from them. And I later found out that the words that they put on your resume are TO, and that stands for too old. And I was really prepared that I would not get a job. So the next question was, what am I going to do with my life? And so then I created Center City Notary, which is a walk-in business. We do general notarization. We're very busy. We work 7 days a week. And that led me into, I was getting a lot of phone calls, and people were saying, do you do apostilles? And so one day I sat down and said, I've got to find out all about this. And I did. And I added apostilles to my array of services. And apostilles are different than notaries because of the unrestricted fees.
Judi, let me pause right there for just a
Okay,
minute,
sure.
because you offered a lot of great information there, and I love that number one, you mentioned grief after being laid off. I think there's so many people who are
Great.
listening today that can relate to
I'm
that.
going to tell you two quick things.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you one thing is that the only conversation for 9 months that this was going on, the only thing I knew how to talk about with people was what television show I had just watched, because I was no longer out in the world. I was no longer talking to everybody all day long. And I will tell you that I cried all the time because, and those of you who know me know, I am a very strong woman and I am a very happy person, but I would not, there was no hope. And I made lemonade out of lemon. And I'm not going to take all the credit for that because I do believe in life. Half of it, 3/4 of it is opportunity, and a quarter of it is when opportunity knocks, you have to let it in.
Yeah, that's so huge. You got to hear the knock. You got to be
Here's a
listening for
knock,
it.
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then open that door.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that too. And
Sure.
then you also mentioned ageism, which I know that so many people that are listening can relate to. You were highly qualified,
Mm-hmm.
and I had never heard that people were putting the T's on resume for too old.
Too
T-O.
old.
Which,
And it's really a terrible thing because when you're 50, you're probably not going to call out sick because your kid has a cold or whatever. You stayed out too late the night before. You're probably going to be the best of the best. You have all these years of experience behind you, but it isn't your market. And I'm sure people will hear this and say, well, I got lucky. I got the best job of my life at 55, and I know it happens. But the typical thing is it just doesn't. And
yeah,
mhm.
I think there's a shift in a lot of in some industries where they recognize the experience and their perspective that comes with being in an industry for many years with all that experience. And then there's still some kind of the mainstream ones that don't. They're looking for that fresh, young energy, and it's
You're right.
there's something to be said for that, but it shouldn't sacrifice the wisdom and the experience that comes from being in older or having more experience that way.
Well, I feel that I was very lucky, and working in a law firm for so many years taught me to have some good business sense, which I was able to bring with me. But Bill, if you had asked me 10 years ago if I would be sitting here right now with you talking about having become an entrepreneur and running a business and being well thought of, and all the, I would have said, and I'm a betting woman, and I would have said, no way, I'm going to be in this law firm until I don't work anymore, because it's just the way we get complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just said something too that I think deserves repeating. You brought that skill set with you. You
Mm-hmm.
got some business sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to remember that no matter what endeavor we take on, we don't have to check our bags at the door. We get to bring all of that experience, all that wisdom, all of those skills
Mm-hmm.
from wherever we were awesome before into whatever venture we're in right now. So
Yes,
yeah, maybe
you have
maybe
to.
it's a notary public, maybe it's an apostille agent,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's an insurance sales. You get to bring all of that with you. You never have to check your bags. Thank you
And,
for
and I'm going to add one thing. If you don't have those skills, you have the internet and you have groups like Sign and Thrive and mine and others and coaches and mentors. There is so much out there to help you. It's just wonderful that people have stepped up and said, I've become successful. I've become somewhat of an expert and I want to share like you do, Bill. You share with everyone. I try to do that too.
Yeah.
It is so wonderful that people aren't saying, well, I know this and I'm not going to share it with anyone because I'll be the only one that knows it. Get out there, teach other people. There's a big world out there and there's enough for all of us to do well.
There is plenty for everyone. And
Plenty
there's really,
for-
I think it was Maya Angelou that says it. There's no true success without helping others. You've got to reach the hand back and pull people forward. I love that.
Could not agree more.
So let's dive in here. Let's talk apostille. Define for our listeners, what is an apostille?
Okay. An apostille is a certificate of authenticity or legalization that comes from the Secretary of State, allowing you to use that document in a foreign country. That's the meat and potatoes of what is an apostille.
Perfect. And so then what you help people become or help teach is how to become an apostille agent. What role does an apostille agent? So how do our listeners actually perform this work?
Okay, so you are the facilitator or the expediter. You are the person that is going to tell your customer what they need for that country, what they need, how they need it, what forms they need, how much money they need. You're the person that is going to be the facilitator or the expediter to get those documents to the Secretary of State. Now, that brings us to something that we've talked about many times, and that is people call the Secretary of State and they call me and they say, I want to take your course, but I can't because my Secretary of State said they do it. And this is true. You can't do the actual apostille. The Secretary of State's the only one that can do that. But you are the facilitator. You're the one that's going to make it happen. You're the one that's going to be the expert that's going to tell the person, this is a non-Hague or a Hague country. And because it's a non-Hague country, you're going to need these documents. And because it's a Hague country, you're going to need these documents. You're going to learn the processes so that when these people come to you, you can make the process easy for them and get them their job, get it done on time, and get it done right, get it done correctly.
What a beautiful description of what an apostille agent is. So let's talk about the qualifications for that. Is it federally regulated, state regulated, and do you have to be a notary public to do it?
It is not federally regulated and it is not state regulated. And believe it or not, it is not mandatory to be a notary. Now, many of your documents will need to be notarized. So if you're not a notary, this is still a great business for you. You could do it on the side. You could do it full time. You could do it whenever you want. But you will have to connect with a notary because I think it's about maybe 75% of the documents will need to be notarized. And so you're going to have someone on hand that can do those notaries. And of course, whatever you pay that person, you will build into your cost. But the law does not say that an apostille agent or an apostille facilitator needs to be a notary.
That's huge. That opens up a lot of doors there.
It does. Mm-hmm.
And that kind of brings us to even the topic that we're naming this episode over is the unrestricted fees for
Right.
apostille. How does that work? And can you define why that is?
Well, it's not state regulated and it's not federally regulated. So what is regulated, the Secretary of State fees are regulated. The Department of State fees are regulated. Your courier fees to get them to these places are regulated. And your notary fees are regulated. But after that, you can charge whatever you want. So let me just embellish on that for just a moment.
Please.
When you take these orders, you're going to find different people. Some people will say to you, thank you so much, and I don't need it for a month, so just call me when it's ready, and thank you. And then you're going to get the person who is crazed and dazed and comes in and says, I just found out that to close a deal, I need this apostille, and I need it tomorrow. And of course, pre-pandemic, it was a lot easier to do tomorrow. It's very difficult to do that now, but let's go tomorrow. So if you can provide that, you can charge anything you want. And I'll tell you a quick story. It was this beautiful Sunday morning. I got a call from a woman, and she asked me if I could come over to her office, which is like minutes away from where I live. And I did. And she said, I'll meet you in the lobby. And she did. But she took me up to one of the most major law firms in the city. And they said, we need your notary because we're going to take this document to City Hall in the morning and get it apostilled. And I said, unfortunately, you're not, because City Hall does not apostille documents. At which point they were all in a tither because it had to be on a plane to go to Belgium on Monday night. Remember, I said this was Sunday morning. And it had to be on an airplane, which meant it had to be apostilled and back in Philadelphia by Monday at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So we got someone to drive up there. This was pre-pandemic. We got someone to drive up there at 6 o'clock Monday morning, got the document done when they opened their doors, got back here by lunchtime, and we were able to charge them over $750 because we got somebody that did the job.
And values in the eye of the beholder, right? They had to get that done.
They had to get that done. Luckily, they didn't wait till Monday morning.
Right.
And ask somebody to notarize it because they were pretty sure that this was going to happen in City Hall. One of the things about apostilles that's so interesting, Bill, is most people have never heard of them until they need one. So people will call you on the phone and say, just hung up from my lawyer and I need something and it sounds like and I say apostille, and that, or destination wedding is coming and they were just told that they need these documents and they have no idea. So you're talking about something where you really have the ability to make yourself the expert without going in and making yourself sound pompous or rude. You can go in and say, Mr. Soroka, I have you. I have your back. I know exactly what you need, and I know exactly how to get it to you for your meeting next Thursday.
What an opportunity, too.
It is. It really is. So, but it takes a little work, and you have to study a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes an expert just has to be a few pages ahead of where they're at. And while it's probably true that you can, a normal consumer could get on the internet, could get on the Secretary of State's website and try to follow those instructions. We know what it's like working with the government and government manuals and descriptions. It's not for everybody. So we get a really good chance here as an apostille agent to shine a light and be that hand holder through the process.
And you will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. You will. I once made a mistake and Egypt asked for 2 checks, 2 money orders, or 2 cashier's checks, I'm sorry, each $25. So I wasn't being careful enough and I sent them 2 money orders. And so they sent back the job. They rejected it. And I had not to go to the bank and change the money. That's not the issue. I had to get it back up to them, and they had to get it back to the Egyptian embassy, and I had to pay those costs. And I also had to tell my client that your job is going to be late and it's my fault. So don't think it. I love when people say, because I do know, but don't think we don't all make mistakes. The idea of sharing, and why I've created a community out there of apostilles and notaries is because it's great to have people to bounce things off on.
That is so true.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
So, and I really love that you brought that up. Perfect timing, because people ask, and I know even people in our notary community, they think, well, I'll just look it up online.
Right.
And there's something very practical about that. I love it when people are resourceful. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get involved in a training program, or you get mentorship from an expert, or you're part of a community, what you're really paying for is perspective and experience. So you've made a lot of those mistakes and you share that information. I know you do really well of, Judi, sharing that as part of your course in your community, so you can help people not stumble where you stumbled. And to me, that's the real value of a training
Absolutely.
program.
And yes, absolutely. And I tell in every class that I teach, I tell, don't be too hard on yourself. And remember, when you became a signing agent, did you automatically remember the rescission calendar? Well, probably not. I know I didn't. Now it's second nature to me. But
Right.
I had to do a few signings before it became second nature to me. So the same with any business that you undertake. You have to learn. I have to tell you, I'm on Facebook a lot with this, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and sometimes when I'm even teaching a course, on the chat line, someone will say, all you need to do is put it in an envelope, put the check in the envelope, and send it to the Secretary of State. You don't need to worry about learning all this. Well, it's just not true. There are Hague countries and non-Hague countries. There are documents that don't go directly to the Secretary of State. They may have to go to the Department of State. So to really be good, you do want to learn the processes. Once you get them under your belt, you will be fine. And it's like anything else. It's like being a signing agent. It's redundant. You will go out there and you will remember the last time you did it, so you'll know for the next time that that's the answer.
Judi, that's such a good point. And I mean, let's look at the reality too. I know there's always the big movement of people trying to do things for free. And I get that people are in different situations at different times, and I can appreciate that. I've been a bootstrapper for my entire life, but there's also something to be said for investing in yourself so you can cut the learning curve. And that's what really a good training program can do. Because what we're talking about here, Judi, even in your Apostille Academy, your master class, it's a couple $100, and you offer a great discount to our listeners. So thank you for that. You guys can learn more about that in the VIP room at sidehustlelounge.com. But we're talking about literally a couple $100. And I want to wrap up here with, again, going back to the unrestricted fee component. What do you see as the average fee that a apostille agent can charge for their services?
I don't see charging less than 100, and I see charging probably closer to 150. It depends. Sometimes you go up to maybe 185 or 190. But again, I caution people, know your neighborhood, know where you are, know what people are going to say. I'll just look for the next one. I mean, so I answer my phone a lot at Center City Notary, and when I say that a notary is $10, people say on the other end of the phone, "That's it? $10? I'm on my way. I'll be right there. I'll be there in an hour." The other person says, $10? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I thought it was free. Well, I got to go. And they hang up. So you're going to get both people here too. You're going to get somebody who you're going to say that's 150, and they're going to say, "Oh my goodness, well, for 150, I could do it myself." And what you're going to say is, "Okay, and if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know," because they can't do it themselves. And they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, "I want you to know I did it myself. I waited a month. Then they sent it back because I didn't have the right form. And then they sent it back for something else. And the next time I need this, I'm coming to a service like yours and I'm going to let you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I think there's opportunity to build a relationship regardless of whether or not they use your services right away. I love that you mentioned that. And what I really wanted to highlight though is if you can make between 100 and 300, I've seen some it depending on your city,
Mhm.
100 $300.
Mhm.
Like you said, for those major expedites, you can pretty much charge whatever the market will bear when they need them that quickly. But
But
if
wait, you're
it,
not.
if it
Wait. I want to interrupt you. You're talking about one. How about the ones that come with you for 3 or 4 or 5?
yeah, exactly.
So
Well, yeah, exactly.
we're not talking about everybody in the country doesn't come for one. Lots of people have 3 kids and they need all their birth certificates apostilled,
Yeah,
or
repeat business. Uh,
or sometimes all at once. Sometimes I have someone coming in on Monday who has 7 corporate documents, and we're going to figure out how to do them, and that's going to be about $1,000 job. So I urge you, think big. Remember, not everybody's good. Not everybody's just going to have one. But there's nothing wrong with one. One, 3 people with one. If you charge them $150 a pop, that's a lot of money.
That's good, and that's decent revenue, and that's to my point is if people are if you're in your head right now, you kind of roll your eyes when you think, "Oh, why would I spend $200 on training?" This is why you would spend $200 on training, so you can be the expert and you can charge a premium price
Right?
and grow that business. It basically costs you one appointment to get this training, perspective, and experience to help
That's
make you an
correct.
expert.
That is correct. And
One thing that you mentioned the other day too, we were doing a webinar, Judy, and you mentioned you don't quite understand why it works this way, but if somebody needs an apostille once, they oftentimes need an apostille again. So there's a great opportunity for repeat
yeah,
business as well.
yeah. That some people move from country to country. Some people move. Some people go over and then they come back and then they go to a different country. There are so many opportunities now for, I'm going to say, young people, because I guess that's not true. It's not only just young people, but young people who are not yet married and don't have children. A lot of them come in and they're going to go do 2 years as a doctor in Bolivia or 2 years as a teacher. I just had a woman, she's going to teach in Siberia for a year, and then she's going to figure it out from there. So your goal, as a person once told me, I asked a person once, I was ready to pitch a big job. And I asked a person once, do you like my pitch? And he said, you don't need it. All you need to say to someone is, I'm going to do this job for you, but it's not this job that I'm concerned about. It's every job you're going to have for the rest of your life. And isn't that true? Isn't, as a notary, if someone comes to you and they notarize an affidavit, that's wonderful, but they're going to need stuff forever. There's always a need for a notary. So you want to do a good job and you want to hand them your business card, so they'll come back again and again and again. Same with apostilles.
I
People
love
come
that
in.
you let's pause a minute and just reflect on that because that was gold, Judy, right there. Because I think that's the biggest missed opportunity in our mutual audience, right? We're used to talking to notaries, but really anybody on here, if you're in any type of business, biggest missed opportunity is believing that this is a transactional business. This is not a transactional business. This is a relationship business.
Mhm.
And if they needed a notary once, if they need an insurance policy once, if they needed to buy a house once, they're going to need all of those services again. And your ability to expertly perform the duties you have been hired to do and your ability to lay the foundation for a relationship that can possibly last beyond that one single transaction directly impacts the success in this and any other business. I
Yeah,
love that you brought that up, Judy.
because think about it. Think about yourself and think about if somebody does a good job for you before you put it away or finish. You usually now go to your phone and put their number and some identifying quality, like, I mean, if they cut your hair, then you put Tina hair.
Right.
It's something to remember that person, because in 6 months, when you need a haircut, you want to go back to that girl who was so pleasant and so nice and gave you such a great haircut. Well, if you get an apostille and it's done correctly and it's done on time, and you don't have to worry and you didn't have to fret and try and figure it all out, what are you going to do? You're going to put that number under Judi Apostille or Bill Apostille, and you're going to say, when I need this again, this is who I'm going to go. We are a relationship based customer service world. That is what we are now. And I think that if you just can mindset yourself that not today, but all the tomorrows, I think you'll do really well.
Yeah, I love that, Judi. That was awesome. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome,
really
Bill.
defining what an apostille agent is, how people can build a business, and how and why some of the fees are, the fees are unrestricted, and you can grow a business with this, with whatever the market will bear in your particular market city. This was great. And for those who are listening and you're wondering, how can I learn more? Check out the VIP room at sidehustlelounge.com. I've got links to Judi's resources. She's got a couple of them in there for us, as well as her Apostille Academy through the Lawrence Institute for Notaries. Again, Judi, thank you so much for sharing so much of your energy and your enthusiasm here.
My pleasure. Thanks. Let's do it again.
For sure.